Hi, and welcome to the latest online workshop for parents from me, Arthur Moore, via Helping My Child Learn. Today's session, thank you for joining us today. Today's session is all focused on revision techniques. We're getting to that time of the year where your children, our students, are maybe getting ready for their first mocks or doing class exams before Christmas. This session is all focused on some ways to improve their revision techniques. There's some techniques that we know work really well. There's also some techniques we know don't work really well. And we're going to be talking about which revision techniques we should be prioritizing over the others. So let's get cracking. So today we are, firstly, why is revision so difficult? Now, revision is a really difficult thing to do. If you remember when you were a student, or you probably heard from your child, as I'm just going to go and do some revision. They come back down an hour later. Oh, how was revision? Yeah, it was good. I did some revision. Now, the problem with revision, I think about it as like going to the gym. Like, it's really easy to go to the gym, but it's quite difficult maybe to do anything that's really focused on what we actually want to do at the gym. So it's easy to go there. It's easy to take your bag, but quite often you just sit down, get out your phone, look around, maybe do a little bit on the treadmill, then go, oh yeah, really good gym session. Revision's the same. It's really easy to think we're revising by reading through a book or looking through, but it's difficult to actually do the learning or the remembering the revision is. And that's because learning is fundamentally difficult. And we need to remember this when we're doing revision, is we're trying to remember stuff or learn stuff again or get ready for a test. That is difficult. So we're trying to do something that is innately difficult. And that's why revision is difficult, because learning is challenging. Now, the problem with revision is some of our really popular revision techniques are actually really ineffective. So we like doing things like rereading, highlighting, and late night cramming sessions. The problem with those is they're not actually good, efficient, effective revision techniques. Something like rereading makes us think we're revising. Oh, I've done 2 hours revision because I sat and read my notes. Oh, I've done some revision because look how many pages I've read. Oh, I've done some revision because look at how much highlighting I've done through my book. But these are not actually very effective ways, because they don't really challenge us to remember stuff, which is the real process behind revision. If you remember back to an earlier workshop, which you can watch online, it's about going to our long-term memory and we're bringing it into our working memory. And that retrieval strengthens our ability to remember later on. Now, these techniques are just not very effective at doing that. They're nice and easy. It's like listening to music while you're at the gym. Like, it makes us sometimes think we're working harder than we actually are, because we're pumped up by the music. But unlike going to the gym, like, we need to be challenged when we're doing this revision. We need to be intellectually challenged because we're trying to remember something that is difficult. So if your child is saying, oh, they're going to go and reread the textbook, they're going to go and do some highlighting, these are not effective revision techniques, but they are very popular. They are popular because they give the illusion of revision taking place. Now, late night cramming is slightly different. Cramming has been proven to have this really short window of effectiveness. If you cram just before you go into an exam, you're going to get some benefit from that. We're at the stage of the year, though, where we're trying to prepare ourselves, not just for the exam tomorrow, but for the exam later on in the year. And those late night cramming sessions, you don't get a benefit long-term from them. So we don't want to encourage these late night cramming, oh, I'm going to go and do an hour before the test sessions, because although they might get us 1 or 2 extra marks for the test tomorrow, they are not going to help us for the ultimate goal, which is the GCSEs in the summer. So we want to advise against these types. Now, highlighting does have its benefits. Rereading does have its benefits. Late night cramming does have its benefits. But overall, they are relatively ineffective revision strategies. So before we get on to really effective revision strategies, I want to talk about some of these pre-revision stuff that we should really be doing before we do revising. Sleep. Sleep is so important. Now, I'm not saying have a nap before you do revising, but what you need to encourage your child to do around this time is to get those good sleep patterns in place. The reason is basically just sleep allows our brain to function better. If we are deprived of sleep, our brain is not functioning so well. That's not going to help with the retrieval. It's not going to help with encoding stuff in our long-term memory. It's basically just going to make that time we are doing revising not very effective. So really be thinking about how much sleep your child is getting, how you can encourage them to get more sleep. I've said eat. What I mean by this is a really good breakfast or a meal in the day is going to help with revision, because basically it is allowing our brain the capacity to focus on the revision rather than focusing on the fact we're hungry. Also, having those kind of slow burning carbohydrates that we all know is really good for us at breakfast is going to give us more energy throughout the day, and it's going to allow us to really focus more in that revision period. So if your child is revising, try and get them not to revise while they're hungry, because it's just not going to be very effective. If they're coming back and they want to do some work after school, can they have a little snack? Can they have some toast? Can they have a sandwich before they go and do revision? Let's get them in a good place before they go and do the revision. Exercise. I'm not saying exercise during revision time, but what it is we are exercising regularly through this period of exams. We are keeping our body in a better state, so when it comes to revision, we are more focused. That can be little things like when you get home, you have your food, you go for a quick walk before the revision starts. Now, this is something you can gauge with your child, isn't it? You can go for those short walks. You can have a chat about what they're going to focus on, or you can have a chat about other things, linking back to previous workshops we've done, which you can watch online. Given opportunities for those conversations to happen. So maybe if your child is revision, but you want to break up that school day in the revision section in the evening, come home, have some food, let's go forward, let's get ready. Be hydrated throughout the day. So again, not just drinking loads of water before revision, but being hydrated throughout the day is going to be really beneficial to your child's revision. So really encourage them to have that bottle of water ready to go throughout the day. And also when they're getting ready to revise, let's have some water on the table for them. We'll come back to that again later. And finally, before the revision starts, get that phone away. The phone is not beneficial for revision. We spoke about this in previous workshops. We know it is not beneficial for revision. So let's try and encourage us not to have that going. So get those phone away. We know that just having the phone in the vicinity of our workspace reduces our effectiveness of focus by about 20%. Just having the phone there. So get rid of the phone. So before your child starts revising, ask them, have they had something to eat? Do they feel exercise? Are they all fidgety? Do they need to go for a quick walk? Are they hydrated? And get that phone away. And then sleep is kind of that big umbrella thing that's happening the whole time. Really encourage your child not to stay up late revising. Let's get them into good sleep patterns. So let's talk about actually how to revise better. So I'm going to go through 5 techniques that are really good for revision. Number 1 is self-quizzing. Now, unlike something like rereading or highlighting, self-quizzing, which is essentially just asking yourself questions really basically, let's keep it really basic for now, encourages the brain to go into its long-term memory, pick out the information we need and bring it back into our working memory. Every time we do that, we are strengthening that process, which means we're going to be better about doing it in an exam. If you think about another analogy to football, if you practice passing regularly, when it comes to that match situation, you're going to be more effective at doing passing. If you just do passing in matches, like you're not having time to practice the skills behind it. Now, self-quizzing is a really good way of doing this. The way I would encourage you to do it is also keep a list of the questions you are asking. This might be just jotted down. This might be a spreadsheet, whatever. Are you getting it right or wrong? If you're getting something right, then you can kind of push that to the back of the pile of something you don't need to be quizzing yourself regularly on. For example, maths, like I don't quiz my students on what's 2 times 2. That's something I know they can do. I'm quizzing on things they need to be practicing on right now. And this links into keeping a record of the questions you are getting wrong. And this means you can self-quiz yourself on those topics again later on. Number 2, brain dumps. I'm a big fan of brain dumps at the start of revision. What a brain dump is, it's a blank piece of paper and getting everything on a topic written down. So for example, on Macbeth, you're going to write everything you can remember down on Macbeth. You're not going to look at textbooks. You're not going to look at your phone. You're not going to Google. You're not going to look at your notes. You're just seeing how much you can remember. This is not about making it look pretty. This is not about mind maps, which we're going to talk about later on. This is about getting all that information down. Once that information is down, you can then look at the information that you are missing. So then you can go back to your textbook and say, well, I've got these key quotes. Which of the key quotes am I missing? Perhaps from your own book. What are the aspects of the character I am missing on Macbeth? And add those to your brain dump. And what this will do is it'll help your brain focus on the things that are missing. And when you next do a brain dump later on, it will have a much higher chance that you're going to remember those things. So if you do a brain dump now on circle theorems, how many of the circle theorems can you remember? You then go back to your book, look at the circle theorems that you didn't put down, put those down. Then next time you come back to think about circle theorems, you're much more likely to remember them. So brain dumps are a really, really good way. It's something we call factual recall. So this is not about applying knowledge. This is just about remembering stuff, which is part of the exam skill. Now, mind maps are kind of taking those brain dumps to the next day. It's a way of presenting data. We all know like the brain mind maps with kind of spider diagrams. You may have called them something else in the past. Now, the key thing to do with mind maps is not just to focus on words coming off. It's really good to have different colors and pictures related to the topic. So this is really good in like maybe geography, where you have your keywords, but you're also going to have a picture of those keywords as an example. And what this is, again, this is just giving your brain different ways of encoding the information in its long-term memory, which is going to give you a better chance of remembering later on. Flashcards. We all know what flashcards are. Bits of information we have. What can I remember? I find this is a really good way, again, of doing factual recall. So if you need to remember dates for your history test, if you need to remember definitions for chemistry or biology, if you need to remember an equation for mathematics, so what you can do is you can just write things down, and every now and again go back and can you remember them? The way to do it is have a question on the front, flick it over. Is that the answer that you were thinking of? And as you're doing this, you can keep a record of, well, I've got that right. I can get rid of that flashcard now. I'm not getting this one right, so I'm going to keep that in my pile of flashcards. And this is something you can really support your child with. You could have those flashcards and, okay, before we sit down and we watch whatever we're going to watch on TV or Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, I'm going to ask you 5 of these factual recall questions. What can you remember? If you can't remember them, they're going to stay on that pile. And next time we do this, we're going to do it again. I'll talk a bit more later on about building these into your routines, but flashcards is something that we can do really easily. And finally, and not surprisingly, answering questions is really good at revision. The reason we tend not to do it as students is it's difficult. Sitting down and doing past paper questions is difficult. You might even call it boring, whatever. But encourage your child to do these questions. And what it is challenging them to apply their knowledge to these exam style questions. And the more they do this, when it comes to their actual exam, they're going to be used to the format of the question. It's not going to be putting them out. Quite often, probably, I read everything last night, but I can't remember it now. And that's because that reading wasn't helping with the actual mechanics of remembering, the actual mechanics of bringing something from your long-term memory to your working memory. What past paper questions does is it challenges us to apply the knowledge, go to our long-term memory, make those links between the topics and bring it forward to answer a question. It's a really good thing to do. It's something you can really support your child with by helping them find past paper questions. Now, yes, there's loads of things you can buy to get these past paper questions. There's so much free stuff online. If you join my Facebook group, which will be the link after this, I'll be putting where you can get free maths questions all the time. You can just quickly jump in and do them. Keeping exam questions that you've done in class back and going over them later on. Keeping mock paper questions that you've been doing. Past paper questions are really, really good, especially for those subjects where you have to do long written answers. So something like English, where maybe you have them to write a short essay as an answer. It's a really good practice way to do this, is to read the practice question, do the practice question, and mark it from the mark scheme. It's a really simple but underused revision technique. So let's just recap those 5. Self-quizzing, asking yourself questions. Brain dumps, seeing what you can remember and then identifying the gaps to fill those missing spots. Mind maps, a way to get the information all in one place. Remember to not just use words, use pictures as well. Flashcards, quick factual recall questions. Have you got it? Haven't you got it? Past paper questions, those longer questions where we need to apply our knowledge. What else can you do to support your child's revision? Now, there's loads of other things apart from those 5 techniques we just recommended. I'm just going to do a quick little run through these now. One thing is to explain and justify why you are encouraging them to do certain things. So I've used this example before of, we know music with lyrics is really detrimental to our revision. We know working when listening to music is not a good thing. Music with lyrics is an awful thing. So rather than just saying to your child, don't listen to music with lyrics, explain to them that the reason you're not allowing them to do this is it's taking up space in their brain that they should be focusing on. Interestingly, after a student's been explained why they shouldn't listen to music with lyrics, and then they do some revision without lyrics, they actually say they felt more focused. So students do understand the benefits of this, but only actually when they get an example to do this. So rather than just saying, why are you reading your textbook? Say, well, instead of reading your textbook, why don't we try and get some questions from it and self-quiz ourselves? It's more effective because blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm not asking you to be an expert on this. It's like loads of people aren't experts in this, but we can encourage our students to work in these ways. And if you encourage them to reflect upon the changes it's had, they will more than often see a positive impact. So how did you feel after sitting those past paper questions? Oh, I feel more confident now for the test. Oh, when the test has actually happened, did you feel benefit? Yes, I felt more confident. Did you feel more focused since we started having food beforehand? This is why I want you to eat beforehand. All these little justifications are just going to explain to your child why you are encouraging them to do certain things. And students, our children, are brilliant at understanding these things as long as we give them a chance to understand these things. Next. So having high expectations, we know, has a really big impact on our child's outcomes. Your perception of them has a really significant influence on how successful they're being. So if you are setting high expectations for revision, how you expect them to revise, if you are demonstrating those high expectations by engaging and quizzing them, for example, this is going to show your child that you believe that they can be successful and they are more likely to be successful. I know it sounds really simple, and the fact that you're on this workshop is going to demonstrate that you have high expectations, but really articulate that to your child. So like, I'm really pleased you're going to go and work for an hour. This is going to be awesome. At the end, I'm going to see how you're doing. I expect you to try and like complete one mind map. Demonstrate those high expectations and you'll be amazed at what your child can do. Build routines. Now, this is something I'm really passionate about when it comes to revision. If we take revision, quite often what we mean is the night before a test, the night before exams. I consider to be revision that's something that starts now for however long. You might be, with your child might be in year 7. Revision is something that can be working now. Revision just means going over stuff we've already done. And we are all doing that all the time. So revision is just a word that we seem to have associated with the night before. Not at all. And this gives us a chance to build routines. So even if your child's in year 11, revision starts now, and we can build those really good, strong routines until the end of our year exams. So a couple of little things, little and often. We don't want to just say, well, the night before exam, you do 5 hours revision. We know that cramming does not have a long-term benefit. It's not going to help them for their exams in the summer. But if we build a routine of, on this day at this time, you're going to go over your maths. At this time, this day, you're going to go over something from English. Those routines, they will be embedded in how they work. Now, to build it into your routine, think about the location where the revision is happening. Can it happen in the same place? So rather than just saying, I'll just revise wherever, like, no, on Thursdays at the dining table, this is what you're going to revise. Then it becomes part of your routine. If you think about some of the routines that are in your house, like they are just things that you've done loads and loads. For example, it's Tuesday today. I know we're going to be having jacket potatoes for dinner because we always have jacket potatoes on Tuesday. It's just part of our routine. I don't have to think about it. I already know what's going to be going on. So if your child knows that on Thursday they're going to do half an hour going to do some brain dumps for maths, it's going to become part of their routine. Timings, try and encourage these revisions to happen at the same time each day. It's difficult. I completely get that in the modern world with like football and swimming and drama clubs and all the rest that's going on. But let's try and build a routine. So it's going to be different for every family. I'm always one for coming home from school, having that little detox, separating school and work, maybe having some food, going for doing some quick exercise, and then doing our revision between certain hours, and then having a switch off point. So we don't revise after 9 o'clock at night. We don't revise after dinner, whatever works for you as a family, but try and keep those in. And then another really good way to build revision as part of your daily routine is to incorporate reflection as part of the revision. So rather than just saying, oh, come downstairs and your child says done, have 2-3 minutes, doesn't need to be long, of what do you think you did well at today? What do you want to revise next time? What techniques did you feel really worked for you today? And just having those little bits of reflection are going to help your child see the improvements they make. So even if it's just once a week, they come down and saying, oh, I think I remember more on circle things. They're going to hear that and they're going to re-emphasize to themselves that this is having a positive impact on their learning. And students who see positive impact on the things they're doing are more likely to keep doing it. Another thing you can do to help revision is to focus on their overall well-being. And we've already recovered these today. So we know from previous workshops that you can watch online, 4 key things that you can do to help your child's well-being at school is to encourage them to sleep enough and in a good routine. So your child should be getting 8+ hours every night. It's going to depend upon the age of your child, but they shouldn't be going to bed at 1 o'clock at night. Eating together as a family, as a group, however your kind of family dynamic works, we know has really positive impacts because it allows conversations to happen. So try and, where possible, eat together, even if that's like, I'm saying like eat together as a family, I'm eating together as a community, whoever's in your house at that time, how it works for your family. Exercise is really important. So encourage your child to exercise, and this is something that you can engage with. So we go for a walk, we go for a run, we go for a swim, we go play football. Exercise is going to have an impact, a positive impact on their well-being and on their schoolwork. Even if it's hard to see that kind of direct correlation or causational effect, it will have a thing. And water is massive. Get your child into a routine of drinking water. One really good way to do this is just to have water around the house. I know it sounds silly, but if you just have water in the kitchen, if your child's first in their room, they might just sometimes, oh, it's just not worth it to go downstairs and drink. Encourage them to have a water bottle wherever they go. I always have a water bottle when I go. It's there as kind of a mental reminder that maybe I need to drink water. So try and build those into your routine. So today we've been talking about revision techniques. We've focused on encouraging a positive routine around revision. We've focused on those pre-revision routines, eating, exercise, sleep and water, to benefit your child when they're revising. We spoke about some of the revision strategies and where you can engage with those revision strategies. So they were self-quizzing, they were brain dumps, they were mind maps, they were flashcards, they were past papers. And you can engage with those. For example, flashcards, help engage with your child. Oh, can I give you a 5-minute quiz on your flashcards? Can I see your mind map afterwards? Show me the past paper you've done. Those little things will help that engagement. It will help with the routine building. It will help with the reflection. It will help with the overall revision. And the final thing I want to leave you on is promoting independence by offering support. I'm not saying you should sit with your child while they revise and engage with every single second. It's not feasible. It's not going to happen, is it? Like, it's just, we have so much going on as parents, but also it's not beneficial to our child to constantly be offering that kind of constant support. But we can promote them working independently by offering the support around that routine of revision. So everything we spoke about before is promoting your child, is giving your child the best chance to do the best revision they can do, to do the best on their test later on. So I really come back to this thing. You can offer support around revision to promote that independence when it comes to revision. Don't tell your child what to revise, but you can support them on how they revise. You don't tell your child this is what they must do, but you encourage them to do this is what will help, and they will see the benefits of that. So thank you for attending today's workshop from Helping My Child Learn. You can see loads of our free stuff on Instagram at Helping My Child Learn. You can see it on our Facebook page at Helping My Child Learn. You can also follow the links in the comments below to my maths focused Facebook group, where I focus on math stuff to do with secondary school maths, with a particular focus on GCSE. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram and all that to see everything I'm doing. Thank you for joining today, and we'll see you at the next online workshop for Helping My Child Learn. Have a lovely day.